Trying to carry bad teammates can be one of the most frustrating experiences in Rocket League. It doesn't matter how hard you try or how good you play, you'll always end up losing. Even though you're doing everything, every game somehow feels like it's out of your control. Most players would just blame their teammates and move on, but the issue surprisingly has very little to do with your teammates. It is an issue that's caused almost entirely by your flawed mindset and approach. I will help you understand why this mindset happens, and how you can fix your approach to carrying teammates. People often blame bad teammates as the reason why they are unable to rank up, but in reality, the problem goes much deeper than your teammates, and it has to do with you. I'm not saying bad teammates don't exist at all, because bad teammates absolutely do, but you don't get so many of them that it becomes the reason why you can't rank up. Let's put things into a new perspective. Let's say you play 400 2v2 games, and your goal is to go from the bottom of Champ 3 to the beginning of GC 1. That is roughly a 120 MMR gap between the ranks. Assuming you wager an average of 9 MMR per game, you can only afford to lose 186 games out of the 400 you play. All you need to do is win 53.5% of your matches to reach GC 1. If you're unable to rank up even after playing that many games, you need to stop looking at your teammates and pay more attention to yourself. There's obviously something wrong with what you're doing. Even though it makes sense for it to be your fault when I frame it this way, this doesn't make your reality any different. You are still trying your hardest and literally doing the absolute most you could possibly do. It's frustrating, and you have every right to feel that way. So let's take a look at what can cause this situation to happen. To understand why this situation happens, we'll first need to look at the beginning. There are many reasons why players feel like they are constantly getting bad teammates. For some people, they just find themselves getting stuck in a lower rank. For others, they aren't stuck in a lower rank, they were just stuck in the same rank for far too long. When you get to a higher rank for the first time, you might feel like your teammates are actually good, and that the lobbies you're in are competitive for your rank. But as time goes on, you start to get used to the rank and you start seeing mistakes. Eventually, players in that rank start to feel terrible. Your teammates are never ready for passes, always go at the wrong time, constantly miss open nets, get in the way and bump you, and can never even save basic shots. When you start to notice the things your teammates are doing wrong, you try to step in and fill the gaps by doing the job for them. The idea itself is correct, but the way you go about it is wrong. The longer you spend in the same rank, the more mistakes you end up noticing. The more mistakes you end up noticing, the worse your teammates begin to feel, and the harder you try to take over for them. People feel like they have to do everything for their teammates. They have to challenge, they have to shoot, they have to save the ball, they have to race around the field to make up for their lacking teammates. The majority of your teammates aren't actually bad, they are just average for the rank that you're currently in. Your game sense has outgrown the rank you're currently in, making mistakes more noticeable. That's why it can feel like your teammates are worse than they really are, and why it feels like they're doing nothing. Something that you need to realize is that you aren't actually trying to carry your teammate, you're just trying to replace them. The mistake that you're making is that you're doing everything for your teammate, instead of doing everything to make it easier for your teammate. Mistakes are guaranteed at every level of gameplay, but one person can't do everything by themselves. Even if you believe your teammate or even the entire lobby is worse than you need to work with your team if you want to win, regardless of skill level. If you want to carry your teammates, you need to change your idea of what it actually means to carry someone. Carrying someone is not trying to play the game for them. It's about being the glue that holds the team together, and being a teammate that's always ready to be relied on no matter the situation. Your goal is to have every game feel like you're in control of the outcome. Ball chasing doesn't give you control over your games, it only makes things worse. You need to always be ready to step in every time your teammate needs help. You need to put yourself in positions where you're able to use your game sense and mechanical advantages properly. There are 4 major things that you need to apply to your gameplay if you want to carry your teammates the right way. 1. You need to be extremely consistent. 2. You need to make sure you have good positioning. 3. Don't overcommit at all. And 4. Know how to be patient. These 4 things are extremely important for general gameplay, but we'll go over how each of these concepts should be applied when you're trying to carry a teammate. Consistency is crucial for trying to carry someone. Without it, it'll be significantly harder to do. Consistency is how well you're able to perform a certain action the same way every time. This is one of the things that people complain about when it comes to teammates. They aren't consistently able to do the things you need them to, and that can cause you to stop relying on them altogether. Inconsistent teammates can make every game feel like it's luck. When you're trying to carry, you need to be able to rely on yourself to play well every single time in every single situation. If you're consistently missing the ball or not getting the saves you should be getting, you are no better than the teammates you're trying to carry. Don't play the same inconsistent games that they're playing. You need to be the difference and be the perfect teammate that you and others can rely on to do things properly every time. In order to be consistent, you will need to limit yourself to mechanics or actions that you can do almost 100% of the time without fail. This is something that I like to call a player's consistency floor. Consistency comes from a long time of doing a specific action or using a specific mechanic. Improving your consistency floor doesn't come from just using the mechanic itself. It comes from pushing your mechanics or actions to the absolute limit by using it in difficult situations. The more you push your mechanics to their limits, the higher your consistency floor will be, and the better you are at using the mechanic in the most simplified form. Keeping everything as simple as possible and only using the mechanics that you're already good at will allow you to play at your consistency floor. Playing like this does come with a small downside. Some of my more dedicated viewers will probably already recognize this playstyle as playing for the win. When you stick to the mechanics you have complete consistency over, the growth of your mechanics will slow down. Since we were talking about carrying teammates, you are most likely getting stuck in ranks that are far lower than what you would normally be. If your main goal is just to get out of a low rank, then playing like this wouldn't be that bad. Positioning has always been one of the most important concepts in Rocket League. Depending on how good your positioning is for each play, you'll be able to play for more things. If you want to carry, you need to make sure that you're in a good enough position to cover any mistakes that your teammate might make. This can be extremely tricky to do properly. If you play too safe, you'll always be in the position to take over for your teammate when they mess up, but you most likely won't be ready to capitalize on any good plays that your teammate might make. You need to find the middle ground between playing passive enough to clean up after your teammate, but aggressive enough to capitalize on any scoring opportunities. In order to find the proper middle ground, you need to understand what you're actually trying to accomplish with your positioning. The perfect position is a place where you can play for the highest number of possibilities. The more possibilities you're able to play for, the better your position is. The perfect position will allow you to play for both possibilities without compromising one over the other. You're in a good enough position to go back if there's a problem, or push forward if there's an opportunity to score. In a position like this, you're able to wait patiently until one of the possible outcomes happen. After the outcome is more certain, you're able to act accordingly. Overcommits are something that you need to be careful of. An overcommit is any time when you're too far away to involve yourself in a play when you're needed. This tends to happen after a challenge, attack, or rotational error where you end up too far away to make a difference. Overcommits are one of the biggest reasons why it can feel hard to carry someone. This is because many people don't even realize that they're doing it. Leaving your teammate to fend for themselves in 1v2 or even 1v1 situations isn't a good idea, especially if you're in a lower rank. Remember, you're trying to be the perfect and consistent teammate that they can rely on. The more you expose your teammate to danger with nobody to rely on, the more you're going to get scored on. You don't need to save everything for them, you just need to have the option to step in if it gets too dangerous. Since you're trying to carry, you need to have the game in your control as much as possible. It's never been about ball chasing. It's about having the option available to you and picking that option whenever you're needed. In order to prevent yourself from overcommitting, you need to make good decisions that don't leave your teammate in a bad spot. As I talked about in the positioning section, you would ideally be in a place where you can play for the highest number of possibilities. Each of those possibilities has options you can choose from. Each option you have available to you for dealing with the possibility also carries some level of risk. Picking options that have a low chance of working can cause you to overcommit if your execution is poor. As long as you have a choice, you should be picking your options wisely if you don't want to leave your teammate in a bad spot. Don't be afraid to challenge when you need to, but don't be reckless and take chances that you never needed to take. Patience is extremely important when it comes to gameplay. Patience is the ability to wait when you know it will lead to a stronger or better opportunity. This takes a lot of game sense to do properly. If you wait at the wrong times, you can make the entire situation worse. Patience has entirely to do with your decision making. The goal when carrying teammates is to never leave them alone in dangerous situations, and have as much control over the game as possible. Knowing if a better option will come from waiting will allow you to maximize how effective every part of your gameplay will be. If you want to be patient, you need to have a high level of awareness and know how a situation is going to play out. Try to slow down and look at the game for what it is. People spend far too much time running around and reacting to every situation, instead of being patient and letting the situation come to them. You don't need to force gameplay to happen to feel like you're doing enough. You just need to understand the pros and cons of waiting in each situation. This will let you know the best possible time to challenge. With all four of these ideas applied to your gameplay, you will have the games in your control without needing the ball chase. You need to play smart and always be in the position to step in every time you're needed, without fail. You aren't replacing your teammates, you aren't stealing the ball away from them or stopping them from playing the game. You are trying to be the consistent, perfect teammate that others can rely on in every situation, no matter what happens. You aren't massively changing your playstyle, you're just making decisions that allow you to support your teammate when they need help. That is what you should be playing like if you want to carry your teammate and get out of low MMR lobbies. There's one other thing that people don't talk about as much. No matter what happens, don't get upset at your teammates or the lobbies that you're in. Playing like this and still losing can be extremely tilting, but you need to keep your anger under control. If you get too angry, your decision making will suffer and it will turn into a vicious cycle of losing games because you're angry, and getting even angrier because you're losing. You aren't a failure for losing in lobbies that are a few hundred MMR below where you should be. Low MMR is a test of consistency. It's not about winning every game, it's about consistently winning more games than you lose for every session you play. Just stay calm the entire time and don't lose your focus no matter what happens. Your teammates can be the difference between winning and losing, but don't let them be the difference between you and the rank you deserve. Now that everything is out of the way, I only have one last thing to say. If you found this helpful and want to see similar videos, I highly recommend that you subscribe. It's entirely up to you, but I'd greatly appreciate it. Anyways, thanks for watching, and don't get tilted.